start and invite our speakers, I would like to have some agenda on my hand. So let me just share it with you. Let me just give you a brief introduction of Alif Technologies, which is founded by myself, Dr. Farooq Habib, and also Syed Asif Zaman. He's my partner. So Alif Technologies is a professional firm with regional presence and global focus and presentation. Our spectrum of services covers various aspects of digital business in the United Arab Emirates, the Gulf countries, GCC, and all over the world. And we offer our clients a complete range of professional services, including software and digital platform development, educational courses, corporate training and workshops, consultancy and advisory, strategic research, and market insights. We believe that there is a huge potential and great benefits in cutting edge technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, big data, predictive analytics, quantum computing, etc., in solving real world problems for both SMEs, small, medium, and large enterprises, and also international organizations. Based on our belief, we are a group of people with well diverse skills, expertise, qualifications, and experience ready to cater our clients' needs. So this basically another milestone we have achieved is like we are also providing complete end-to-end solutions for security, token offering, and digitalization and tokenization as well. Uh, and we are also going to launch specific programs for which I'm going to talk about later in a while. But before that, I would like to also introduce the Alif Technologies webinar series. So this series is actually an initiative by Alif Technologies to, to basically provide a platform for the knowledge seekers and give them an opportunity to listen to the industry experts, scholars, and academicians and engage with them in an interactive discussions. And another good thing is like if you are not able to basically participate in any of our event at the time when it is organized, then still you will be able to basically see the recording of the program later on our YouTube channel. But of course, like if you are here and you are trying to participate in the program live and directly, you will have the advantage to directly engage with the experts and speakers and pose your questions and also comments directly to them, and then get the instant answers for them. And today's topic is actually a very interesting topic. So we are actually living in the age of global economic and financial crisis. According to many economists and financial experts, interest, I mean usury or riba based debt system is to be blamed, because this is basically the root cause of all the crises we are facing at the moment. And it is not only widely spread in banking, insurance, and other financial products like we understand, but it is also present in other business and individual dealings. So we have to be very careful about it, because inshallah our respected speakers will be shedding light on this issue, that from Islamic point of view, riba in its all forms is prohibited, and Islamic teachings also strictly prohibit interest riba in all forms. So we have to, as a Muslim, we have to avoid it all and its all forms. And it is very crucial to avoid it. It is very crucial to understand its concept, types, and modern forms. Hence, this webinar will give you a great opportunity to learn about this topic from world-class experts, inshallah. And I hope that you will enjoy the discussion, this lively discussion. Another thing I would like to basically introduce before we move on to our first speaker is that uh, Alif Technology is proudly going to launch a program which is basically, let me just share my screen over here. So yeah, as you can see that we are going to basically launch our first academic and educational program, which is called Crypto World Demystified, bringing accurate. This program is actually will actually bring accurate and practical knowledge of the crypto world of the masses, because so many people have asked me that what is cryptocurrency, what is crypto asset, what is blockchain, and is it possible basically for them to have a hands-on experience or like a practical knowledge which can be used for their own benefits and also for the benefits of the whole society. So this program will basically provide you a fundamental overview of crypto assets and a practical guide to trading, investment, and risk management of such assets. The most important thing is like mostly people are basically who have been involved in this kind of activities have been conned or have been a victim of fraud and scam. So, and they are rightly scared from this phenomena. But in my end, I think that this phenomena is the future of money, and we have to equip ourselves with care. So, like it is not something which is like a money making machine or like getting rich scheme. You have to consider it as the phenomena which is going to revolutionize the money, the its form. And also not only that, it's not only about money but also about stock exchanges, shares, all the commodities will going to be tokenized. So in that sense, that this program will give you a very fundamental understanding, and also to give you some skills and knowledge with which you can differentiate between a scam and a genuine project of blockchain. And not only that, like you will be able to understand the whole ecosystem. For example, like you will be able to understand what are crypto wallets, you will be able to understand what are crypto exchanges, and you will be able to understand like what are ICOs, STOs, and IEOs, and what are the regulations, and how to basically differentiate between a genuine blockchain project and also a scam or a fraud, and how to avoid them. And not only that, like you will be able to equip yourself with some kind of I mean like with the investment perspective, and also trading perspective, and also risk management perspective. And this program has been specifically designed so that like it will be only on Saturdays. So if you can see that the dates for this is 11th July, first module, second module, and third module are all on Saturdays, like 11th, 18th, and 25th of July. Second thing is like this program has been distributed and divided into three modules. First module will give you a practical introduction to crypto asset, and the second module will talk about mining, trading, and investing, and the third module it will talk about the technical and fundamental analysis, and also most importantly Sharia issues, that how you can basically only go for the Sharia compliant tokens or the crypto assets and avoid the non-Sharia compliant one. So I think, and the prices are also very reasonable. So I am very enthusiastic about it, that inshallah there will be so many registration about for this program, and people will definitely benefit from it. So after that, let me let me just move on to my first speaker, that who is my dear friend, Dr. Muhammad Mahboubi Ali from Indonesia. He has a very vast experience, and is a Sharia scholar and a great academician and researcher. He is the head of uh, uh, Zakat, Awqaf, and Economic Department in IAIS. IAIS is the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies in Malaysia, which is very well respected institute there. And Dr. Mahboubi Ali is also sitting on Sharia advisory boards of different financial institutions. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend, Dr. Mahboubi Ali, to talk about it. So Mahboubi Ali, brother Mahboubi, the mic is yours, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Farouk. Let me share the slide first. Can you see my slide? Can you see my slide, Dr. Farouk? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see your slide. It's apparent.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Farouk. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Respected Dr. Farouk Habib, Sayyid Asif Zaman, and Dr. Zahir Anwar, my other panelists in this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Farouk Habib for having me here in this webinar. It gives me a great honor to discuss one of the very fundamental yet important aspect or issue in Islam, which is, I believe, the main reason or the main triggering factor behind the introduction of modern Islamic financial institution, Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, as well as Islamic insurance or takaful since 1963 until today. I have been given the mandate by the organizer, my dear brother, Dr. Faru, to discuss or to touch on the concept of riba, yeah, the fundamental concept of riba from an Islamic point of view. And I believe Dr. Zahir Anwar will share with us on the modern form and application of riba in the contemporary world. So, in very limited times given to me, I think within 15 minutes, let me share with you the first slide on what is riba, on the concept of riba. So, as you can see here, literally, riba is derived from a root word roba yerbu, yeah, which means excess or expansion, increase or extra. In Arabic word, we call az-ziyadah wan-numu. This is the literal meaning of riba. Technically, the Shariah scholar provided a different definition of riba. And some Sharia scholar normally define riba focusing on a particular type of riba. For example, some classical jurists define riba as an increase or an extra over and above the principle of loan, okay, without counter value. Or in Arabic word, we call az-ziyadatu fil asli bila iwadin. This definition basically focus on one type of riba called ribal qarb, for example. Other Sharia scholar confine the definition of riba on the riba in sales contract. So we can hardly find basically the comprehensive definition of riba covering the whole spectrum of types and classification of riba in Islamic literature. So one of the relatively comprehensive, yeah, of definition of riba is that the scholar define riba as any or an unjustified excess over and above the capital, yeah, or principal, whether in loan contract between the creditor and debtor or in trade with similar commodities. But still, this kind of definition confine the definition of riba into two types of riba, or at least three types of riba, namely riba al-qard, riba due to what they call riba involving interest, or riba nasi'ah due to late payment, then it trigger penalty, for example, and other. It does not cover the whole groups or type of riba. In Islam, or in the Quran, basically riba is mentioned in the 12 Quranic verses in 4 surah, explaining riba as the opposite of the positive activities of trade. For example, Quran said, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. So basically the Quran distinguish between the ruling of trading and the ruling of riba in this case. And another verses we can see that Quran basically differentiate between riba and sadaqah. Yamhaqullahu riba wa yurbi sadaqah. And as mentioned earlier by Dr. Faru, that the prohibition of riba or interest has been made conclusively by virtue of Shariah or Islamic law evidences or dalil, in various Quranic verses as well as in the Prophet tradition. For example, in Al-Baqarah 275, Allah said, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَا وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. They say trade is like riba, but Allah has permitted trading and forbidden riba. As well, the messenger of Allah cursed the one who devour riba, the one who pay it, the one who witness it, and the one who document it, and said they are like in guilt. It was basically recorded in one valid and sound hadith or sahih hadith where the Prophet said, La'anallahu akil riba wa muwakkilahu wa katibahu wa shahidaihi wa qala kulluhum sawa. Now, looking at this slide, basically we can understand the whole dimension of riba. Because when we look at definition, basically we only understand one or two type of riba. But this category basically show us that there are generally two type of riba. Yeah, one is riba in loan, we call riba duyun. The second type is riba in sales, riba al-buyu. Riba in loan, of course, irrespective of other classification by some respected Sharia scholar, but I try to make it simple and comprehensive as much as possible. So riba in loan is further classified into two types of riba. One is basically a riba that may take place due to an increase, or a contractual increase over and above the principal of loan. Az-ziyada fil asli bila iwadin. So a contractual increment between the creditor and debtor, okay, over and above the principal of loan resulting from loan contract, then it is a type of riba we call riba al-qard, riba due to a loan contract, or in the context of banking we call it interest. Interest is a payment, an extra payment made by the debtor to the bank, for example, due to the loan facility offered by the bank to the customer. The second type of riba under the purview of riba duyun or riba in loan is called riba jahiliyah. In other term we call riba nasi'ah or riba Quran, because this riba that has been basically or clearly prohibited in the Quranic verse. Or riba jahiliyah because it is a type of riba which was widely applied during the jahiliyah time. So what is the riba jahiliyah? It's basically a type of riba in loan contract where a creditor impose an extra payment or a penalty to the debtor as a result of postponement or extension. Or in the time of COVID, we usually hear the term moratoriums. So the moratorium given or postponement given with an extra payment, as a price of an extension, and it is basically in conflict with a verse in the Quran saying that wa in kana dhu usratin fanadiratun ila maisarah. If a debtor is in genuine difficulty, then he is to be given a sufficient extra time for extension of payment until they are financially capable to pay the obligation on monthly basis, for example, or installment basis. Yeah, this is the first type of riba under riba in loan contract. The second type of riba is riba in sales. Riba involving an exchange of commodities. But we have to understand that not all the commodities, not all the trade, the exchange of commodities will trigger the issue of riba under riba buyu. It is basically applicable to certain commodities we call ribawi items. Okay, as mentioned by the Prophet, we have a six ribawi items, or we may simplify into two ribawi items, namely currency, and the second one is foods items. And it was reported by the Prophet saying that الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والتمر بالتمر والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير والملح بالملح مثلا بمثل أو مثلا بمثل يدا بيد سواء بسواء فإذا اختلفت الأجناس فبيعوا كيف شئتم. This is basically the basis of ribal buyu. Okay, meaning that gold for gold, silver for silver, wheat for wheat, barley for barley, dates for dates, salt for salt, it should be like for like, equal for equal, and hand to hand or spot basis. But if the commodity differ, then you may sell as you wish, provided that the exchange is hand to hand or spot transaction. So based on this clear Prophet tradition, the Shariah scholar, okay, come with the requirement for an exchange of ribawi item. The first requirement is that if the exchange of ribawi item involve the same type and denomination, or the same genus and denomination, like dollar with another dollar, barley with barley, then there are two requirements that have to be observed. The first one is that the contract should be effected on spot basis. The second one, it should be on equal value, spot and equal. However, if the commodities differ, if the ribawi item are at different type and denomination, yeah, then the requirement is only it has to be effected on or perfected on spot basis. It does not require equal value or quantity of the commodities. So failure to fulfill the first requirement on the spot basis, see for example the exchange of ringgit with rial, yeah, or with dirham, on deferred basis. Okay, on deferred basis, you deliver your ringgit today, but you will receive the counter value in the form of another currency next month or next week, then it will trigger the issue of riba, we call riba nasa, yeah, the ribal buyu, and by the name of riba nasa, because there is no support payment, yeah, a spot transaction in this case. Now, if the transaction does not take place at equal value or not at par basis, if the action of the transaction of the commodities involving the same type and genus as well as denomination, dollar with another dollar, ringgit with another ringgit, for example, then it will trigger another issue of ribal buyu, we call ribal fadl. Fadl means excess. Riba due to excess, due to unequal value in the counter value in the commodities. Yeah. And riba nasa means because there is a deferment, riba due to deferment in delivery of another commodity or the two commodities or the two ribawi items. So here basically more explanation on the requirement of the exchange of ribawi item and what will be the Sharia implication if the requirement is not fulfilled. So if the same denomination should be at par and spot, different denomination, in the case of currency should only require a spot basis. Okay, otherwise it will trigger the issue of nasa. But if it is not at par, it will trigger the issue of fadl. So to simplify basically the application of Shariah ruling on Ribawi item, you can basically look at the three different color here. Red color signify the two requirements should be in place, which is equal value as well as spot basis. This may take place if the exchange of the Ribawi item involve the same genus and denomination, like gold for gold, silver with another silver, USD with another USD. Then the red color, the red requirement will apply here. Now the green color basically signify the requirement on the spot basis only. For example, the exchange of silver with gold, or with another currency, or with another what we call with another currency, then it will only require a spot basis. But if the exchange of the Ribawi item involve a different type and denomination, like currency with food, gold with staple food, then it does not require a spot as well as equal value. It is free from the two conditions, namely spot and equal or at par basis. And if we refer to the what literature or the teaching of a different religion, so basically the prohibition of riba is not only made by Islamic teaching. It's not only prohibited by Islam, but it is prohibited by other at least Samawi religions. Yeah, like we can see the prohibition of riba in biblical scripture, even in Hinduism, Buddha, and other religion also basically prohibit riba by the name of usury. Now, what are the wisdom and rationale behind the prohibition of riba? I think I have to be quick because the time is I think it's over now for me. So at least there are four rational or wisdom or hikmah behind the prohibition of riba. First, because riba is a form of social and economic exploitation. Riba will defeat the very basic function of money, because when we just simply make money out of money, basically the investor or the rich people will just simply lend money without dealing or involving in real sector, in economic activities and whatsoever, that it will basically negatively impact to the economic production, economic growth and development. And also riba violate Islamic principle of a property right, nadariyatul milkiyah, as well as because riba, loan contract is basically an act of lending. Yeah, as act of charity is tabarru'an contract. When you lend money, basically you assist other to fulfill their basic need. So it is not intended for commercial purpose. It is not intended for profit-making activities. So if you are to make money, then loan contract is not the right contract for you to maximize your profit, to aim for profit, because the Sharia already provide you with a rich and a number of commercial contract, be it partnership contract, muawada contract, exchange contract, even other supporting contract, investment contract, and other that can be used by the Muslim investor for profit-making activities. But loan contract is initially legislated to assist each other, to ta'awun. That's why it falls under the category of tabarru'at contract, the contract of charity, which are not for profit-making. But of course, we have some facing some misconception about riba, especially interest in the context of Islamic banking and finance, or in financial systems. Some people may justify interest because bank interest is not riba, because it is not excessive enough. Because even some Sharia scholars are of the view that interest can be deemed as riba if it is excessive, if the rate of interest is double, based on the Quranic verse, Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la ta'kulu riba ad'afan mudha'afa. But they forgot that this kind of verse has been overruled or superseded by another verse or the following verse saying that ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la ta'kulu riba wa dharu ma baqiya minar riba. So the second verse or the former verse basically prohibited any kind of riba, okay, irrespective of magnitude, quantity, rate, or the number of riba. Small riba, big riba, large number of riba are all prohibited under the former verse that I said earlier. And then another people perceive that interest should be allowed on the basis of necessity. It can be justified because it is a price of inflation, time value of money, and some may see that riba is not applicable to commercial loan because in the context of banking now it is mainly offered to customer for production purposes, for commercial activity which can generate an income, profit, and for businesses, so that it can be very much justified, and the form of exploitation is remote in this case. So this is some kind of misconception that we are facing nowadays in the understanding and defining the interest or riba. And also perhaps we may discover some say that interest-based commercial transaction is not riba because it is newly invented concepts. Lastly, the question is interest riba? Because as you can see in the title, what they call the title said that riba in bracket interest. So whether interest is equivalent to riba or whether riba is as good as interest. I can see here based on the definition and the discussion on the category of riba, we can basically conclude that not every interest by the meaning of excess, okay, over and above the principle of loan offered by the debtor to creditor is not riba, is riba. Not every interest is riba because there are some interest or some extra payment that can be given by the debtor to the creditor, and it does not qualify riba, which is prohibited by the Shariah, if the excess, if the extra, if the increment over and above the principle of loan is given without any conditional, without any promise, without any agreement,
Contractual relationship, you can say.
contractual relationship between the two parties. Okay, in the form of hibah, for example, in the context of Islamic banking, or atoya whatsoever. Even the Prophet said, "Inna khiyarakum ahsanukum qada'an." The best among you, if you pay your obligation, you pay in the best manner, give an extra, but of course without any contractual relation, as correctly mentioned by Dr. Farooq. So we can easily conclude that not every interest by the meaning of extra payment is riba, but also not all riba is interest, because interest is only discussing on the extra payment, be it on the contractual relationships at the time of the execution of the loan contract, or due to the late payment in the form of penalty, but it can be due to deferment. Okay, if it is involving an exchange of commodities with the same types and denomination, okay, but not at or if it is in riba in exchange contract, ribal duyun for ribal buyu, for example, also it does not involve any interest, okay, but it is made on deferred basis, then still it is riba. That's why we can say that not all riba is interest, because there is other type of riba which does not contain any interest. With that, I stop here, Dr. Farooq, for at least the introduction for the purpose of the discussion moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahbubi Ali. Very wonderful presentation. And I think that there are so many questions because of that, because it was very engaging and very interesting. So I think that, due to some time, exceeding time, I should quickly move to the questions. So the first questions somebody has asked is about like how for riba can be present or exist in forex trading.
In forex trading, okay. So
like, do you consider that like there is riba buyu or riba
yes,
duyun
yes, of course.
in forex trading?
In forex trading, because you see, I think our former institution, ISRO, where we work together, Dr. Farouk, has published one very good research paper on the Sharia issue in forex trading. So at least, basically, the research paper has concluded that there are at least 4 Sharia issues, okay, in forex tradings. One, of course, the issue of riba, because in forex trading, basically, the investor or the buyer does not have we call a physical delivery or a right for physical delivery of the forex, because the intention to enter into forex is mainly for speculative against the movement of the price of the currency, isn't it? The currency volatility. So the buyer or the investor here is restricted from seeking delivery of forex. So here, of course, it has basically failed to fulfill one very basic requirement of buy or sort of contract, which is a full transfer of currency from one party to another party on spot basis. The second issue is that in forex trading, within certain time, 24 hours, for example, you have to dispose of your forex, okay, via your broker. So it is also another issue, because it basically defeat the hurriyatut ta'akud, the freedom of contract. As the buyer, you are basically given a freedom as to whether to keep your currency, your forex, or to dispose it. But within a certain time, 24 hours, let's say, you have to dispose to the market. This is the second issue. The third issue is the issue of leveraging. This is the issue of riba as well. The issue of leveraging, where you can basically buy a forex with 1,000 real, but you can basically leverage up to 100,000, for
30x,
example,
even like,
provided
yeah, it can go
one
all the way
equivalent
to
to 100.
30x or 100x.
Exactly, exactly. So basically, there is a conditional loan and there is a conditional loan and sale contract here, where basically the broker will lend money to investor, provided that they use the leverage money for trading, for buying something, and it fall under the prohibited hadith, the prohibition in the hadith the Rasulullah, and bay wasalaf, and bay ataini fi bay'ah, and other hadith on this. And the last one is basically on the issue of penalty, because when you cannot when you want to extend, okay, the what we call the forex, not to dispose within certain time. See, for example, for another three days, because you want to expect that your forex will go up, then you have to pay a price in the form of penalty. So
yeah,
the
I
issue
think
of
that
penalty,
that is called basically like the open position during the overnight during the overnight, and you
exactly,
have to pay the swap charges for that, which is
exactly.
basically a form of riba again.
Exactly. So the issue of overnight charges, or we call penalty, the issue of leveraging, the issue of freedom of contract on to the requirement of disposal within certain time, and the issue of possession and delivery on spot. Even there is no such possession at all, it will, of course, it make the forex prohibitive from Sharia point of view. And
Okay,
until now,
just
I can see that none of the online forex is deemed Sharia compliant, at least in the context of Malaysia.
Yeah, I think that I can agree with that, because I have also talked to several forex trading platforms, and another problem with that is that like they are using CFDs, which is
Yeah.
again CFDs, the contract for difference, which is again not Sharia compliant. But there is another question, and then I would like to basically extend the same question to you, that like we have talked about the forex, but how about cryptocurrencies? So do you think that the same problems may arise in cryptocurrencies if somebody is doing trading for them?
Oh, I think you are the one you have to respond to that. You especially,
Okay,
I think
just
you are quite
let me just give you my
in
opinion
my
on that.
view, but I don't have a capacity basically to have my view. But at least based on my reading, there are three views on cryptocurrency. One, who disapprove outright the cryptocurrency due to the issue of speculative in nature, gambling, high uncertainty on the price volatility. And I think you know better than me who is the scholar, who are the Sharia scholar adopting this kind of view, like the scholar from Egypt, Al-Azhar and others. The second view, on the other hand, basically approve cryptocurrency in totality. Even one Sharia, one very well-known, respected Sharia scholar in Malaysia, I cannot mention the names, saying that when he was asked on cryptocurrency, he said that cryptocurrency is very Sharia compliant in totality, but no future. I'm not sure. I don't know what does it mean. But no future. I think you know better on this. But the third group basically try to compromise the two diametrically different views. Yeah, saying that cryptocurrency is permissible provided that it is backed by certain commodities or underlying asset, so that the issue of uncertainty, speculation, risk can be at least reduced, just like in the context of share and stock that has an underlying project or companies. So that's all I think.
I think that, yeah, I
I'm
think that
in the
this is
position
very
to
interesting one.
Yes.
So, and I think that you have explained it very well, but I think that this is a very specific question and which are with a very specific focus. And fortunately, like in our program, inshallah, we are going to talk about it in a very good length, that how to do trading of crypto assets in a Sharia compliant manner, and how to avoid Sharia non-compliance risk, Sharia non-compliance issues.
And I agree with you. I agree with you, irrespective as to whether we can qualify cryptocurrency as currency or as asset, financial asset, or quasi currency. Now it becomes one of the view of the Sharia scholar, as long as it fulfills the requirement of a sale contract, a valid sale contract. Okay, if you want to define it under the purview of quasi currency or currency, then you have to follow the requirement of buy or sell on spot whatsoever. Or if it is financial asset, then for me there is no harm and there is no issue from the Sharia point of view, as long as you can observe the Sharia requirement on it.
One last question quickly, and I would like to have a very brief answer for that. Sorry, because we have exceeded our time limit. So the question is, what is the difference between profit on murabaha contract and conventional interest?
Okay, very very brief, sweet and short and sweet. Okay. In murabaha, the profit is based on underlying asset. It is based on a price of a sale contract, a price of asset. But in the conventional, in the conventional, what does he say?
They say the conventional interest. So, for example, like
interest is basically just an act of lending money for an extra payment which does not have any underlying asset as what we call as the commodity, as the transacted item. It is just money out of money. It's just selling money out of money or renting money for money. But in murabaha, it is basically buy an asset with a price where the price can be basically determined based on the agreement, willing buyer, willing seller. It can be based on murabaha or musawama, even wadi'ah, discounted price, or tawliyah at par price, as long as it is based on willing buyer, willing seller. And it fall under the Quranic verse, wa ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. Murabaha is permissible because it fall under the trading contract, which is supported by the commodity and the asset. So you sell the commodity, you buy the commodity with the price, but in the conventional interest, it is riba because it is just a money out of money. It's a creation of money out of money. Wallahu alam. Now it is Maghrib time here, but I can delay my prayer if there is any other question for this. Yes, Dr. Faru, I didn't hear anything from you.
No problem. So yeah, I think that that is very wonderful. There is one more question. I think that briefly, if you can basically commit it to the briefness, I can have another question, and then we will move on to our next
I think
presenter, inshallah.
the Maghrib Tawrim will be, I think, in the next 5 minutes. So I think I have still time for the next
Yeah.
five
So I
minutes.
think that 5 minutes we can still. I remember that like in Malaysia, it's gonna be Maghrib soon. So
Yes.
I will have one more question, and then I will. You can basically excuse yourself for Maghrib
Thank
prayer,
you. Thank
inshallah.
you.
So the question is like a general idea that how can we avoid interest in a system which is where everything, the whole financial system, the economic system is based on riba. So if you look at the global level, so the financial system, the economic system is based on riba. And if you go to certain jurisdictions where are no Islamic alternative is available, so how can we avoid riba in those countries or in those jurisdictions and globally? A general view. I think
Yeah.
that your slide is basically has covered so many things. But what do you think? This is basically your
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
a closing
So,
remark.
so Quran said, "Yuridullah bikumul yusra wala yuridu bikumul asra." So in basically, if possible, try to avoid riba by not participating in the conventional finance, be it banking, insurance, or whatsoever, if possible. But if it is not possible because there is some necessity for you, for example, to lend to borrow money for your mortgage, for your car, whatsoever, then basically the Sharia scholar allow the basically the participation in the conventional finance on the basis of necessity, subject and limited to your basic need. The fatwa that allow subscription of conventional insurance, reinsurance, whatsoever, in the absence of Islamic product in your respective countries. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, mashallah. Thank you so much, and jazakumullahu khairan. And thank you so much
Well,
for your insightful presentation and
yeah,
also an engaging session in the question and answer.
and
So
thank
I
you
think
very much.
that I shall basically leave you for Maghrib prayer because you are also anxiously waiting for that. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming.
So perhaps, Dr. Faru, I can just excuse for Maurib times for 15 minutes. But if the discussion is still on, I can still join after Maurib
Perfect.
time,
That will be
inshallah.
perfect because
So at least
if there
just
is
want
some
to,
time.
yeah, just want to listen to, and take benefit from the respected panelists after this,
Okay,
inshallah.
perfect. So like if there is some time that maybe like there were a few questions more, we will accommodate them in at the end of the session. But yeah, please go ahead. No
Inshallah, I
problem.
will come
Thank
back
you so
afterwards.
much. Fi aman Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamualaikum.
And then I think we will move to our second speaker. Again, my dear friend Dr. Zahir Anwar. He is an associate professor in University of Management and Technology, UMT, Lahore, Pakistan, and he's gonna talk about the modern forms of riba, like Dr. Mahboubi has already set the stage for the riba from the spiritual and Islamic side and religious side and the fiqh perspective of it, the types of it, and he has well explained that what are the prohibitions and how they can be avoided. Now, Dr. Zahir Narwa is going to talk about the modern forms of riba, that how these has riba has been sneaked into different in different products and services. So without further ado, I would like to basically call upon Dr. Zahir Anwar to start his presentation. Brother Zahir Anwar, you have to unmute your mic.
Okay, I hope now
Yeah.
you can hear me properly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. So after Brother Mahboob's detailed presentation, so I think it's the right time, since all of us already had the theoretical background, and I myself have sort of refreshed my some of the concepts. So let's move on without much ado, as we are already late. We are behind schedule towards quickly towards the presentation. Can you please up? Can you please upload the
Uh,
presentation?
Brother
am I
Ravi,
supposed to
sorry.
do that? Or am I
Your
okay? Just a second. Just a
your
second.
voice is
I'll remove that.
actually a little low.
Okay. Yeah, Brother Farooq, can you hear me? I think
Yeah, this
now
is
I can be heard more properly, right?
yes.
Okay. So can you share the slides?
Okay, I will share on my side, but
Now I cannot hear you. Now I cannot hear you. Just a second. Maybe I need to. Okay. If everybody can hear me, no worries. Simply share the slides. We can settle this later.
no, I think that we can hear you, and your video is also okay. So I will share the screen from my side so that like you can. Drop again. So Dr. Zahir Anwar, your presentation is on the screen. I hope that
Okay.
everybody can see it.
Okay. So let me change the view a bit. Okay. So how do we understand the understanding interest riba in contemporary world? So I think now view is clearer, right?
आप बताओ.
Let me open presentation.
मैं अगर change करूँ.
Is it okay? Okay, so let's start. So let's just okay. Please go to the next slide. Slide 1. Okay, so let me start with a world. Just imagine, go maybe 1,000 years back, and imagine a world where we don't have any banks. Okay, so when we have to make a living, when we have to in order to have our bread and butter, we need to do some business, some sort of business, right? How do you perform the business with the capital, money flows like blood in your financial system? So when we say financial system, even a small shop can be a financial system for one household, right? How are you going to collect to finance that shop, to finance your enterprise? So if we go in a world, if we in a world where we don't have any banks, how are you going to finance that business? So the oldest, perhaps among the oldest forms, is your musharaka. Two or more persons enter into a business, they pool up the money, they they start commercial activity. Another form, especially very famous during Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his time and his companions' time and much afterwards, is mudaraba. Like one person offers services, one person offers the money, and they start business. But see, these sources, if you say, were limited, and there was a lot of margin of agency problems, adverse selection, all the issues, because obviously we are 3-4%. We don't know each other's, we don't know much about each other's skills, and even if we want to gather some information regarding each other's expertise, it would be Dr. Farooq, can the participants see me? Is it okay?
Yes. Okay. So you would like
Okay.
to switch on to the third slide, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's not third.
Second
Still,
one. Yeah.
let me. It's the second slide. A world without banking system. So you see, in that world, if you compare that world with today's global world, there are so many things that I am going to explain later that your modern banking system is doing. So practically, it's, I mean, these are big words to say, but practically, it's very difficult for somebody who understands business, commerce, envisage a world without the banking, without the banks.
So especially in a world where we don't have barter economies, we have the economies that are based on the money. Please, next slide.
Next slide.
So in that world, we have very highly sophisticated markets. There are two kinds. Basically, we can say, broadly speaking, we have two kinds of these markets: real sector and financial sector. All of us are aware of what real sector is. Financial sector, we are here. If you remember, Dr. Mahboob talked about two types of riba. So riba al-bay would be mostly dealing with your real sector, mostly I would say. Riba al-jahiliya would be more relevant to your financial markets. How? You see, when we have developed the modern corporation that collects capital from the people and invests that in some business in order to generate profits, in order to feed the mass, to feed the shareholders, we were in the need of bigger markets because we had capital. And then we also needed finances. And a company was considered more credible as compared to a individual or a group of individual. So that was the time, we can say, in early 16th century, that was the time when banks started surfacing. There were Jewish merchants. They had their shops near the sea banks, seashore, river banks. That I think that was Lombardy, from where this all started. So in modern day world, because we are short of time, we can talk about that for at great length, but then just come back to the modern world. In our modern world, from those banks that were situated at near the river banks, we do have now different kinds of banks, and broadly we divide them. Commercial banks, they are actually the modern day banking is actually you can say it's mostly comprises the commercial banking, corporate banking, retail banking. So what are the services that are being provided by these commercial banks? They accept your deposits, they give you loans, they enter into correspondent agreements. So now, how is how do we have how do I think the voice is clear now? I just read a comment, the voice is low. So is it better? Okay. So in the modern day banking,
The voice is okay.
okay, in the modern day banking, now we actually now start our discussion how this interest is in the modern day economies. So if you look at the commercial banks, I as an individual need to preserve my money. I also want my money not to lose value by virtue of time value of money concerns. So I enter into a bank and I deposit my money. So technically speaking, if I have to safe keep my money, I should pay some amount on the to the bank to to keep my money safe for me. But as the bank has to invest that money in the loans, the bank, on the other hand, pays me the money to keep my money with that institution, right? So that's the place where this whole system of Ribawi transactions start. Since banks are getting, they are not getting money cost free, so they need to earn. When they need to earn, they lend the money to the credit worthy individuals, credit worthy corporations, and they earn interest. So you multiply this. Now we rise to the national level. So your banks are not here only to lend the masses to the companies, and especially in the developing world and also in the developed world, governments are always short of the money. They cannot collect sufficient taxes, so they need to get back to the banks to get to finance their operations, and they pay interest to finance their operations. So just imagine this riba is flowing like blood in your whole financial system. So the story doesn't end here. The countries, they cannot survive alone on the loans, on the public debt that is availed by their that is availed from the local banks. So they go to the global institutions like World Bank, IMF in order to get support programs. Again, interest based. So even if an economy wants to, somebody asked that what are the implications of riba? So just imagine, even if a country wants to survive purely on its own, it cannot, because it is a part of that global system that is practically running on the riba based system. Okay, and the story doesn't end here. Investment banks, they also promote riba in what respect? They actually, apart from advisory services, they also provide the lending services to their customers in order to avail the margin financing in order to buy the shares on credit. So they avail credit facilities against competitive rates. And then these commercial banks, I forgot to mention, they actually fund each other in times of liquidity crunches. So that funding is also based on purely on riba. Finally, insurance industry. Insurance is here for the purpose of transferring the risk, but insurance companies, they reinsure, and eventually they end up their money invested in the Ribawi modes of transactions. Okay, please move on. So are they different? By the way, this slide, I think my friend Dr. Mahboob has already covered, and I am short of time. Very quickly, I would say no zulm, no excessive, only compound. So I think Dr. Mahboob has talked about this slide. It would be overlapping, but the only thing that I would like to add here is that time value, because I think he didn't talk much about the time value of money concerns. So time value of money, it's most important issue. Like before joining academia, I was also a banker. So these are all the arguments that we used to have. These arguments. Time value of money is most critical. It is the most critical argument. The only problem is Islamic finance does not. I would say it recognizes Islamic teachings recognize time value of money concept, but it has to be attached with the transaction. So money is not considered a commodity. So if money is not a commodity, then we cannot sell or buy money against money, except, as Dr. Mahboob has correctly pointed out, it has to be in spot and like for like. And so if you attach time value of money concepts with credit sale versus cash sale, Islamic teachings have no issues at all with this kind of charging higher price for deferred payment sales. Islamic finance has no issues. But if we say purely considering money as a commodity, if we structure a transaction by considering money as a commodity, it won't be allowed. The other things I think Dr. Mahboob has covered, so we can move on to the next slide. Somebody asked about Bitcoin, so I think in the question answer session we can cover it. How Islamic banks avoid riba? I'd like to talk about a few things here. Some of them are sale-based modes like murabaha, like ijara is not practically a sale-based mode. Ijara is more of a renting arrangement. Then we have equity-based modes, musharaka and mudaraba. Salam is another sale-based mode. So Islamic finance has done what? It has devised certain excuse me please. It has devised certain contracts that are actually, they have tried. The best I would say is that they have tried to replace conventional transactions with the Islamic modes of financing. But there are some fundamental issues. Like, let me give you an example. I purchase a home on credit, and an Islamic bank gives me financing for that. So my point here is, and it's a food for thought. You may disagree with me. This is my humble assertion. This is my humble understanding. Does Islam encourage a point of a behavior where, in order to live in a 1,000 yards house or to live in a luxury condominium, I enter into a loan, even if it's a Sharia compliant mode of financing? Does it lie in the core of Islamic teachings that I need to suffer, I need to bring hardship to me in order to enjoy luxuries? I mean, I leave it up to you people. So deposit products are there. Most of the times there are studies, they follow the conventional deposit rates. There are financing products that they do not resemble in form, but in substance. People have said many things. So I won't go into the details. But for the time being, we can say Islamic banks have actually provided the customers with alternate avenues. But some things are missing. Maqasid Sharia approach calls for bringing in the hikmah, or the broader wisdom of Islamic teachings into the agreement. Problem is, are we having those Islamic instruments, Islamic finance-based instruments? Like, if it's a sukuk, is it really a musharaka sukuk? Even if we are tying it to a benchmark, still, if we are ready to share the profits according to the real economic activities, we can safely say that we have avoided riba. Are we doing it? Again, I leave it up to you. Sharing. Dr. Mahboob has very correctly pointed out there is plethora of literature, so many studies. What should they tell you what should be done, but we get the answer purely from a theoretical point of view. So risk sharing, very briefly, I would say, because there is me and brother Farooq Habib want to open this Alif Technologies. I mean, brother Farooq, please excuse me for taking liberty with your business. So both of us, okay, the real two partners. So there are two partners who have started this Alif Technologies company. Okay, they want to share the profits or the losses, but that is profit and loss sharing. After 1 year, they are going to sit together. They are going to calculate the revenues, the expenses. They would reach to a profit figure. They'll have some calls with each other. Obviously, we have all that stuff in business, and they will share the profits. Inshallah, it will be a pray to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that they share the profits. But what are they sharing today, or the day when they started to get involved in that business? That is risk. They were sharing the risk. So again, I leave it up to your fine sense of judgment to decide whether Islamic banks are getting involved into the risk sharing transactions, or we are again falling in the same trap, that risk shifting, risk transfer trap. I leave it up to you. So riba, trust me, it's just like, all of us is in coronavirus, it can mutate very quickly. So trust me, riba is as lethal as this coronavirus because it mutates. It enters into different transactions and it changes its shape. So we have to use the yardsticks, carefully use those yardsticks that have been explained by Brother Mahboob Ali in order to differentiate effectively between a Ribawi and a halal transaction. So I think these were some of the humbilizations that I had to make. So I think we are open. I'm open for the questions. So, okay. So any questions, Dr. Farooq? I cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. So I think that it was a very good presentation and very interesting one, and it has raised some more questions actually. And I think that we are looking forward to a very good discussions over here. So we have some questions actually in our chat box, but I think that before that I will go to our Q&A session. We have like a question and answer session here, and we have open 13 questions actually. So but if you can briefly, some of them are basically related to Sharia compliance, like whether this form is Sharia compliant or not. I will avoid those one because I think that because maybe I will pose some relevant questions to you. So there is one question: as penalty charge due to late payment is prohibited in Islamic finance or not? And
I think
how is the treatment of the penalty charges?
Actually, again, I'm not a Sharia scholar, obviously, but then we have studied all these concepts. So it's very easy to understand the concept. The penalty charges, what do we, you see, the problem is, for example, as in the session with Dr. Mahboob, we talked about the penalties on the Forex transactions. Let's talk about penalty on the payments of Musharaka Mutanakisa transaction. I have availed Musharaka Mutanakisa from an Islamic bank and I delay my installment, so they charge me. So, a principle, theoretically speaking, what are they increasing? Because Musharaka Mutanakisa installment is a component of two amounts: Musharaka installments and Ijara payments. So, if I am charging penalty, what am I enhancing? Am I going to enhance my share in Musharaka? But then we cannot unilaterally enhance a pre-agreed amount, Musharaka amount. And similar is the case with the renting arrangement. So the answer is simple: it's not allowed. Although there are some, Brother Farooq he can guide better here. Some scholars do allow due to darura or the broader welfare purpose, because in an institutional setting, if you don't incorporate penalties, it would be very difficult. And I have observed this thing from my own experience of the industry. When you don't have penalties on your financial transactions, you know what the problem the problem you face the problem is that the bad customers start visiting Islamic banks and good customers leave Islamic banks. Why? Because they say that we are paying a 90 days LPO Murabaha in 70 days and we are getting no benefits. And there is another customer who loves to default. He is paying a 90 days LPO Murabaha in 120 days or 110 days, and he is not charged with any penalty. So Sharia scholars have found out a middle way. They allowed the banks to charge penalties, but then these penalties are supposed to be channelized to the charities. This is one. Wallahu alam.
Okay, perfect. There is another question basically that if let's suppose that there is a commercial bank and there is an Islamic bank. So Islamic bank uses terms like profit and like ijara, and they use the terminologies of Islamic contracts. On the other hand, I think that the question the person is trying to ask that, okay, it has a perception that it is only a matter of changing terminologies, number one. So do you think that, and then on the other hand, we have necessities like house financing. If you take an example of any jurisdiction or any country, housing is basically a very big problem, and then car financing is another problem. So what is the choice for a customer to be given, whether to choose Islamic bank or a Sharia or a non-Islamic bank, because he perceives that like there is only a change of terminologies?
Okay, the answer is quite simple. Actually, there are two questions. First question, I would not work in an Islamic bank, but if I have a choice to open my account in, like if I have to choose between opening my account in an Islamic bank or a conventional bank, I would definitely go for an Islamic bank. Okay, I may not work in an Islamic bank. I think you may have understood my point of view. Change of terminology. The problem is, go 30, 40 years back. I am among very harsh critics of present Islamic banking practices. But see, one thing is for sure, at least now we have an identity. We have contracts in place. We have the whole stage set for the real play. So right now what's happening, I don't know whether you would like my example or not. Right now we have a theater, but we are showing a recorded movie in that theater. But the stage is there, the audience seats are there, all the facilities are there. What we need to do now is, instead of recorded movies, we have to use the real actors to play in front of us. Simple. So I would say, please support Islamic banking, but don't stop criticizing, because it would actually increase their rent-seeking attitude if we don't criticize them. But still, we have to support the industry, because inshallah, I have this belief that some khair may come out of this whole system.
Mhm.
What
Okay,
should people do? The other part, Dr. Farooq, very quickly,
yes.
I would say, because obviously I want to live in a cozy house. I want to live in a cozy house. I want. So if my Sharia scholar tells me that I can avail Musharaka Mutanaqisa, so this is the difference between perhaps fatwa and taqwa. Is it, as I leave it to your judgment, if we need to put ourselves in hardship in order to enjoy some luxuries, or we should not get ourselves, because it is a liability. Remember, end of the day, it is a liability. So are we going to get ourselves involved in a liability to enjoy the luxuries of life? Does Islam teach us? All of us are, I think, educated and knowledgeable enough to decide upon this. Okay, Dr. Fred.
Okay, perfect. There is a quick question that how riba exists in mutual funds investment in any form.
Mutual
So
funds, yes.
yeah, so
Okay.
mutual funds, like, do you think that there is riba and how it exists there?
Okay. Because this is my area, so
Mhm.
please allow me if I try to be more, like, if I want to offer more details. Okay, first thing, mutual funds dealing in fixed income securities, clear, haram, right? Because they are purely dealing in riba. Second thing, mutual funds dealing in treasury securities, most of them are money market securities, riba based, haram. Okay, move on to purely equity based mutual funds. Purely equity based mutual funds also buy if they are buying the shares of the banks, we have to look at the rulings. If the income is below 5%, I mean, is it enough for the purpose of purification? If this is below 5%, you can go for that. But then there is a bigger question. There is a bigger question. Are the companies in which they investing, are they Sharia compliant companies or not? Sharia compliant companies are those where we have and this is, remember, this is an arbitrary statement that I am going to give. Your debt and your current assets have to be less than 33% of your capitalization or total assets. There are different definitions. And your interest-based income should not be in excess of 5%. Okay, so then that company would be considered a Sharia compliant company. Okay, so if my companies in the mutual funds are Sharia compliant companies, and there is no Ribawi loan obtained from any commercial bank or from any other institutions, then yes, we can say the mutual funds, you can invest in those mutual funds. Simple. So I think it's quite, it's easy to understand. I don't think it's very difficult to understand. And one more thing, Dr. Farooq, I think it was asked from Dr. Mehboob, but I think maybe I think I mentioned that I would reply. What are the implications of riba for an economic system? This was a very important question.
Yes.
Go back to global financial crisis of year 2008. What happens is, somebody has very correctly pointed out the fractional reserve system. The problem is, fractional reserve system allows us, basically they are step sisters. Fractional reserve system and your riba, they are birds of the same flock, and they fly together. I get money issued by government against sovereign guarantee. Okay, it's only a sovereign guarantee. There is no tangible asset on the behind it. So I go to a bank. I have 1 million ringgits or $1 million. Bank tells me you have you can put 90%. You can have the funding at 10% margin. So I get $900,000 against that $1 million. 1 million is under lien, but that 1 million is available with the bank for the further lending. I take those $900,000 and I invest it somewhere else. So what we are doing, what riba is effectively doing, riba is effectively allowing all of us. Why riba? Because bank is charging fixed interest rate, and I am getting fixed interest rate on the deposit, that 1 million deposit. Remember, I am getting interest on that 1 million deposit, and I am paying interest on that $900,000, right? So we are promoting what? We are promoting riba, an income that is unjustified. Okay, so what would that unjustified income do? It would eventually create a whole segment of society that is feeding itself on easy money. So you see, I always wonder, does Brother Farooq need to buy a Lamborghini? Do I need a sports car? Do I want to eat caviar, which can, for one dinner, which is equivalent to one person's annual salary? Do I need those expensive foods? No. So why they are introduced? Do I need a $10,000 vanity bag? No, I don't need. So why these things are created? To spend that easy money. And riba is one of the culprits in that.
I think that is a very wonderful question, and I think that there are some comments and questions regarding one issue about Dr. Mahboobi's statement that not every interest is riba and not every riba is interest. But let me just quickly explain it, because I think that with that I will be able to actually resolve so many questions. So what he meant, and fortunately Dr. Mahboobi is also back. So but let me just give a quick answer, is that what he meant is that like, for example, interest, riba, usury are basically the terminologies where people get confused. So according to the modern definition, or if you look at the non-Islamic definition, if I can call, conventional definition of interest, so interest is basically a rate which is reasonably charged, and usury is basically a rate of on over and above the capital, which is charged exorbitantly, in a nutshell. But riba has a very wide concept, because it encompasses not only a small amount of rate which is charged or the exorbitant rate which is charged, but it also has roots in sale transactions, and it is not only confined to the loan transaction. Number one. So that's why he what he was saying is basically that not interest is basically riba, because riba is a wider term and concept. Number one. Number two is basically when we let's suppose there is a scenario where Dr. Zahir Anwar gives me $100, and after 1 month I give him $110, but without any predetermined rate. I am giving back to him this $100 which he gave me, and also on top of that, I am giving back to him $10 extra only on my own discretion without any contractual term. So he was not expecting it, but I am giving it to him as a thanks. So this will not be considered as riba, but it will be considered as the repayment of the loan in a good manner, because I am also not only paying back my loan in on time, but also I am giving him some extra so that like he will be happy and comfortable, and there is no obligation on me to do that. I am doing it on my own discretion, and there was no any pre-arrangement or pre-agreement for that. So that was he was saying that this is not considered as riba. So anyway, I think that with that, I think that we have basically listened to our guest speakers, and now I would like to invite my friend, my and my partner, Sayyid Asif Zaman, to have some closing remarks, inshallah, and then with that we will close our session.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa Muhammadur Rasulullah. Rasul Karim, everybody, assalamu alaikum. And there was a very good debate and presentation by Brother Zahir Anwar and Mehboob Ali, and we are happy that and we think that people get most of the information they were seeking on that one. In case we are unable to answer these questions, they can send, we can communicate with them through emails and other things like that. And I'm very much happy that basically, the core purpose of incorporating this Alif technology was that we spread the name of Allah and the technology with the technology. We are living in the world which everything is changing with the technologies and everything like that. There are so many questions, like people, they are unable to understand that very common sense, that common questions are there, whether Bitcoin is halal and haram, the cryptocurrencies is halal and haram. And so these are the basic knowledge questions which Sharia scholars like Mahbub Ali and Dr. Farooq and Zahiri Anwar, they have to answer to the general mass publics. And our aim is to spread, the name of Allah, and then all these things which are relating to our, daily life, like this Sharia. We are talking about this Sharia and about interest and this Uzri. And there is a time limitation. That's why we are not, I think, unable to give whole view on some points which may be left over. I want to start, my presentation, not the presentation, that start my this that I want to tell that what is riba and what is. There was different hadith and Quran ayat on riba, and one of them is the fourth revolution on Surah Baqarah, ayat number 275, in which they said, those who benefit for riba shall race like those who have been driven to madness by the touch of devil. This is because they say trade is like riba, while God has permitted trade and prohibited riba. So it means that God has already, prohibited what is riba, and what is riba already the scholars, I think, have then defined that what are the ribas. And
excuse me, Brother Asif, your presentation is not fully visible. Can you please, can you
Sure.
make it full screen?
1 minute, sure. I will do it. Give me a second. Okay. Share 1 minute. Share it again.
Meanwhile, I can basically also ask our guest speakers that they can also go into the section of question and answers, and there they can basically see the answer. And if they would like, they can type in their answers and then send it to the people. So that can be done also. Like if you can see on the bottom of the center there, in the bottom center, there are basically some Q&A session. So you can, if you click on it, then you will see that there are questions. So if you would like to answer, you can answer them by typing.
Okay, Dr. Farooq, now the presentation is visible.
Yeah, and can you please click on full mode, like a presentation mode?
Okay, 1 minute. It's not visible full.
Yeah, but if you go to the presentation mode, if you look at your right bottom,
Okay.
so right bottom, and then yeah, this one. So if you click on it,
Yes, now it's visible now.
yeah,
Yes,
now.
yes. Okay, fine.
Perfect.
Okay, then what I was telling, that there are basically two negative or whatever impact of riba. There, one is in on economic side, one is on social side, and the other one is sociological or spiritual side. Effects are there. So what we're talking, as a, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, so I will talk about the economic effect which riba have. That I will go through only the bullet points. Rest, anybody have question, this our Shariah scholars are there, they can elaborate on that one. The economic effect, that it reduce the economic productivity and the rates and impact on riba on saving, investment saving, money supplies, the interest based system result in inflation, negative impact on inflation coupled with loose government spending and exploitation of banking, negative impact on uh, small businesses especially. And then there is business risk. No business is free of risk. You understand that, okay, when you have to earn profit, you have to load the interest rate on also excessive profit making, instability in the market, demand and supply, reduced circulation of money. What is the Islamic, economic system? The fundamental of that, the fundamental of the Islamic, this riba is the center of Western economy, and for Muslims, this is unacceptable. We have to brave enough to break new ground and find, viable alternative framework, that finding the latest tricks in book to put name of riba on the basis of principle led by the Islam, as mentioned above. So there are some of these, products which has been currently used by the banks in combating this interest-based system. There are Qazal Hasna, Mudarba, Musharka, Murhaba, Bai Salam, Zakah and Sadqa, Taraka, and Ijariya. So these are the well-known system in place, which are riba or interest-free, and being adopted by the financial institutions and the bankings nowadays. So let me introduce about our company, what we are doing over here. This Alif Technologies, we have three segments, and we have one academia, the other is solution and development and implementation, and the last one is fintech consultancy. In academia, we are doing this e-series and knowledge sharing, like today, which we are conducting this webinar, in which we are trying that to understand the fundamental of interest of riba and how to avoid, and what kind of ribas are there. These are the things. And in other also webinars, we are trying to elaborate things which a common man which are unable to understand and have problem in understanding. And the other part which we are doing here in Alif Technology is the solution development and implementation. We are doing conventional software development, and we are developing some blockchain software solution also. The lastly is the fintech consultancy. What we are doing in fintech consultancy, we are doing that, as Dr. Farooq have already mentioned. For one of the client, we are issuing a Sharia based coin, and later on launching this digital Islamic investment platform. So we are working in this different dimensions, and basic our core purpose of this one, Alif Technologies, was that there are two main segments nowadays: fintech and Islamic Sharia. So we want to combine and make a common awareness that how and we can connect the fintech with Islamic Sharia, the products and the consultancy and other things like that. Whether a product, Islamic fintech products, is fitting in Islamic Sharia or no. Rest, Farooq, Dr. Farooq, you can take from me and elaborate more on that one. Thanks a lot from my side. Thank you. Farooq, unmute your mic, please.
Okay, Jazakumullahu khairan, and thank you so much. I think it's been a very huge pleasure, great pleasure having you guys on the panel and also sharing knowledge with the people. And then I also like to thank the participants for being patient, also because I have just used like 13 minutes extra because we were supposed to close it on 4 p.m. but then we just utilized this time because sometimes there were some glitches and then some technical small issues which we have to overcome, and we had to wait for our speakers to talk. But I think that it was a very wonderful session, and I think just to tell you that we are very happy that we have received almost more than 370 registrations for this session, and people actually participated in this webinar from 29 different countries. And Alhamdulillah, we were able to actually covered all the big regions of the world like Canada, China, Russia, from there to Mauritius, and also Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the whole Middle East. So I think that this participation is very much wonderful and also motivating for us. And inshallah, we hope that like in the future we will be able to organize organize more interesting events on bigger platforms. Thank you so much. Jazakumullahu khaira. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So, Dr. Farooq?
Yes.
I think for those who would like to understand further on my statement that not all riba is interest, not all interest is riba, perhaps they may want to refer to the paper.
Yes, I think that you have mentioned the link, so I would encourage participants who would like to understand more about this statement that they should read this paper. The link of the paper has been mentioned by Dr. Mahboobi Ali in the comment section. So please see that, and inshallah you will be able to understand more. And I also try to basically answer that by writing and also by saying some words. So I think that it will be beneficial, inshallah. Dr. Zahir Narwa, would you like to say anything else?
Thank you so much.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Jazakallah khair. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear now.
Okay, actually I'm using my Bluetooth. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, it was really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the success of your initiative and your enterprise, inshallah, and the mission that you have carried on. So looking forward to it, and I have to learn a lot from you, Dr. Mahboob. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Barakallahu fikum. And I think that we have been sharing our contact details also, and also our channels like YouTube channel, Twitter, and other platforms where we can communicate. So if you have any question regarding this session again, so please contact us. And also, if you have any specific questions, you can basically direct to us, and we will try our best to basically get the answers for you. So that is basically not the end of the session, but actually the beginning of this discussion on riba, because I think that it's a very big and huge problem and issue, and it has to be understood perfectly and properly. and in order to avoid it. So I think that if you have any questions, please let us know, contact us, and then we will be able to basically get you the answers. Thank you so much. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum, and take care.